All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi all. Today is the third and final session of our Synchro Studio Simplified webinar series. My name is Kristen Bridgers. I lead product marketing here at Cubic Transportation Systems, and I'll be moderating today's session. Leading the webinar, we have Sharman Chodhuri, the Synchro product specialist at Cubic Trafficware. Also joining us on today's panel is Lindsay Roldan, Business Development Manager, and Aaron Schaefer, Business Development Administrator. If you have any questions for Sharman during the webinar, go ahead and drop those in the Q&A for us. Lindsay will be monitoring the Q&A, and she'll be helping answer some of those questions throughout the webinar. The ones that are still remaining, we'll get to at the conclusion of the presentation. Lastly, we've added a new member to our Synchro Studio team. Her name is Kelly Moore. She's not on the panel today, but she is as part of the attendees, and we just wanted to say welcome, Kelly. All right, enough with the formalities. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Sharman to get started. Sharman.
Thank you, Kristen. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, evening, and morning to everyone, depending on the location from where you are attending. Welcome you all to Synchro Studio Simplified webinar part 3, and this is the last part, as Kristen already mentioned. My name is Sharman Chodhuri, and I will be your presenter for today's webinar. Okay, so as you all know by this time, in today's webinar, we are going to talk about Synchro Studio and its some important feature. However, as I always do, I know like whoever attended webinar 1 and 2 already know that, but I prefer to actually talk about Synchro Studio a little bit, just to go have an overview so that the people who never listened about Synchro are attending today's webinar, they will have some idea about what Synchro Studio, and then I'll jump into the main topic for today, okay? So let's get started. So what is Synchro Studio? Synchro Studio is a robust, easy to use traffic signal analysis software. Here I mentioned traffic signal analysis software because this is what Synchro was originally made for. But today's date, Synchro supports the unsignalized intersection as well as roundabout. Synchro allows you to analyze, optimize, design, model, simulate, and animate both signalized and unsignalized intersections. It also includes the roundabout. Synchro allows you to compute trip distribution and trip assignment for traffic impact analysis, which is the TIA analysis. Now, when we talk about Synchro, this is just a product of a whole suite of products, which we called Synchro Studio. Synchro Studio includes Synchro, of course, because this is our main flagship product, which allows you to design, model, and optimize traffic signal infrastructure. We also have SimTraffic, which is a simulation tool, essentially the micro simulation tool, which allows you to simulate the real world vehicular and pedestrian traffic scenarios. Now, when you purchase Synchro, you always get SimTraffic and vice versa. So you can purchase them as a package always. Besides these two products, we do have another product which you could purchase as an add-on, which we called 3D Viewer. 3D Viewer is a 3D viewing tool, which takes the two-dimensional model from SimTraffic and convert it into a three-dimensional animation, which is really great for presentation purposes. Besides these three products under Synchro Studio, we do have two separate supplemental modules, which we called Warrants and TripGen. Those are completely standalone product. You can purchase them separately, or you can actually purchase them as an add-on of Synchro Studio. Now, both the names are quite self-explanatory. Warrants allows you to evaluate a network of intersection according to the MUTCD guidelines for signalization. Today's Warrants also supports the all-way stop control intersection. The TripGen allows you to calculate the expected number of trips based on data from the IT trip generation manual. And we support the latest IT trip generation, which is the manual number 10. Why you should use Synchro Studio? Synchro Studio have been in the industry for more than 25 years. It combines the deterministic modeling tool, which is Synchro, with the microscopic simulation tool, which is Simtraffic. So you always get them together as a package. Synchro is very easy to use software and highly adaptable with many different scenarios. Synchro also supports multiple similar scenarios in a single Synchro file, meaning within one Synchro file, you can have multiple scenario with different timing and or volume, AM peak, PM peak, off peak, existing scenario, future scenario. So you can have them within a single Synchro file. Synchro Studio also supports multiple analysis methods, starting from HCM 6th edition, HCM 2010, HCM 2000, Synchro's own proprietary percentile delay method, ICU, which is the intersection capacity utilization, as well as Simtraffic. Also, Synchro has very seamless integration between our in-house softwares like Simtraffic, Warrants, and our central management system. So within one click, the data got transferred from one software to another. Now, also, it's worth mentioning that the latest Synchro update, which is right now the latest one, we actually enhanced the software, ensuring the seamless remote access. So the situation like now, like you are working from home or whatever, you will have the seamless access. Okay, so that's enhanced feature which we included in the latest Synchro 11 release. Okay, so with that, let's actually jump into the main topic for today. So the first topic we want to discuss here is the UTDF transfer. In my last slide, I just mentioned that Synchro has a very seamless integration between our in-house software like Simtraffic, Warrants, or ATMS central management system. However, if you want to transfer the Synchro data with any other software, you can use the UTDF. This is very useful tool when you are transferring data between Synchro and any other third-party software. Even you can use the UTDF transfer to import and export from the traffic signal controller hardware. Like if your controller hardware have that capabilities, you can also transfer data in between. Okay, and within one UTDF file, you can actually store multiple volume counts, multiple timing plan for the same intersection with different timing. You can do that, right? One thing you always need to remember that within Synchro, that UTDF file needs to be a comma delimited format, okay? So which is the CSV format. Sometimes I see that users are trying to actually import the XLS format, which is not actually supported. So always make sure that your UTDF file is in CSV file format. Now, how you can actually access the UTDF within Synchro? So when you are in Synchro, there is a transfer tab. You hit the transfer tab and you will see there is an option called UTDF under that tab. And then whatever operation you want to do with the UTDF, you will actually do within that tab. Okay. Now, when you click the tab, you will see you can actually divide it in two different parts. One is the combined part, another is the individual part. So the individual format actually helps you to actually create the individual data set. Like if you want to export, import only the volume or the timing or the phasing or the lane or the layout. So you can export or import those data completely separately when you are using the individual format. That means this. So transfer, UTDF, read, write. If you click the drop down, you will see these options popped up. So those are the individual format. Now, on the other hand, you also have the combined format. Okay. So in a combined format, it contains all the data necessary, which is in a format of the CSV. Okay. Now that CSV file contains multiple sections so that a single file can completely define a network. Okay, so it includes the data like the layout, the lanes, the phasing. It also includes the section for networks, nodes, links, timing plan, which will allow you a better mapping of data. Okay, so this is what the format which is available under the UTDF format. Okay, now I'm gonna go back and then I'm gonna show you in Synchro how you can actually use those. So let me open up a Synchro file first, and then I will show you how it works. Okay, I think this one will work. Okay, so I already clicked the transfer tab. So normally when you open Synchro, you will be in the home tab. But right now, if I want to access the UTDF, I'll click the transfer, okay? So when I click the transfer, I see there is an option called UTDF. So this is the place where you need to come when you want to do any operation with UTDF. Now on the left-hand side, these two options actually meant for the combined data format. That means if I actually save it is in a CSV file, and if I re-import it into a new Synchro file, I will see all the data or most of the data will get transferred. So let's see how it works. So if I want to save this network, okay, so this is my network. And if I want to save this network under a CSV format, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Save Combined. So when I hit Save Combined, it will take me to the directory where this Synchro file is saved, okay? Now it will ask me, okay, so what is your file name? I'll actually maintain the same file name, but I'll change the save as type. So here by default, it will show you the template, but I would like to choose the comma delimited because this is what I want to save. Now I hit save. Okay, so when I hit save and then I go back to my folder and I open the CSV file, which I just exported. Okay, so this should format it like that. So the first portion, you will have the network information, then you have the node data, XY coordinates, you have the link data. So this is actually the combination. Then you have the timing data, then you have the volume data. So this is the combination of the, yeah, these are the volumes. So this is the combination of whatever data you have saved in Synchro. Okay, now let's do another thing. Let me close it. And I will open up a new Synchro file. So if you want to modify the data, you can modify it in the CSV file and return it back to Synchro. But right now, I'm not going to modify anything for the demo purpose, but I can show you how you can import that CSV. Okay. So let's assume this is just, I just open a fresh Synchro file. Okay. So now I would like to import the combined file I just created. So I hit open combined. Oh, no, I don't need to save it. I need to actually give them the directory where I save my combined file. So I will actually give them the directory. This is the combined file I just saved, tmc.csv. So when I hit open, you see the data got transferred with the geometry, the volume information, the timing information. Okay, so this is how, when you actually want to transfer the combined data between the Excel and then transfer it back to Synchro or any other software which is supported by UTDF. Now let's move in. Now, when I'm done with the combined format, I would also like to show how the individual format works, because I know that people really use the volume transfer a lot and also timing a lot. Maybe the geometry and length is not that much, but I would like to actually show you how you can do those stuff. Now, let me see. Okay, so I will actually go back to Synchro file. Okay. So for the individual format, or for the maybe for the combined format as well, it is very helpful that if you write the data first, that means you export the data to generate a CSV and then become familiar with the data set, okay? And then you become familiar with the data set, you modify the data based on what you want to change for that particular set of data and import it back. Sometimes I see users are asking or customers are asking, hey, I don't know the formatting. What formatting should I follow? I would always recommend, please export the data first. So when you export the data, you see the formatting for that particular network, because the formatting is always same, but in different network, it actually kind of like, it shows differentiation, because maybe in this intersection for this network, I have, for example, for the northbound, I have 1 through 1 left, 1 through and right lane. And of course, I have volume, I have timing related to that. Maybe in another network, I even don't have that particular approach, okay? So there will be a little different on the formatting for that network. That's why I always recommend first export it for your particular network, get familiar with it, and then modify whatever data you want to modify and return back the data to Synchro or any other software. Okay, so I'll do the same. So let's say I don't know how the formatting is. So I would first like to actually write it and then read it back. Okay, so write is export, read is import. Always remember that. So let's first play with the volume. So I would like to write the volume. So I'll click UTDF write volume, press OK. Now I need to select the directory where I want to actually save my file. So let me see. So it actually always gives you the directory where your main file is saved. So I'll keep like that. I can change the name, but maybe I won't for this time. So I hit open. That means I select the directory, I select my file. Now for this time, date, and day of week, you remember the scenario manager. So the time and date already picked up for this scenario from the scenario manager. So you don't need to do much in this case. And based on the time and date, it also captured the date. For the scope, you can either export the data for single intersection, zone, entire network. Depending on your scope, you can choose whatever best suit for your project. So right now I would like to do it for the entire network. So I hit enter network. Okay. Now I'll hit write. So it's also notifying me that 6 intersections volumes written. That means this in the total network, I do have 6 intersections, and Synchro already wrote those volume for me in a CSV format, which I name as volume.csv. So let's see how that volume.csv looks like. So when I click there, okay, so this is how, for this particular file, the volume.csv looks like. So the labeling is very important for this kind of transferring or formatting, because the first one is turning movement counts. Okay, based on that, Synchro will actually import the data. Synchro will read that. Okay. Now 60 minutes count. So this is 60 minutes count. I already mentioned it here. So Synchro will read it as a 60 minutes count. If you have 15 minutes count, make sure you change it to 15 minutes count. And of course, you will have then 4 set of data like 8, 8:15, 8:30, and 8:45. So if you have 15 minutes data, make sure you change that. If you have 60 minutes data, you are good to go. Okay. The first column here is the date. So from which date the Synchro data, like you actually export the data from Synchro. And then the time, these are all actually captured from the scenario manager. Then you have the intersection ID. So this is the intersection ID 2, 4, 5, 7, 10, 13. These are all the intersection number in the file I exported the data from. And then you have the hourly volume, because this is 60 minutes. That's why I'm saying it hourly volume. If you have 15 minutes, make sure you have like 4 set of data so that Synchro actually understand, okay, this is 15 minutes counts, and Synchro will import it back. Okay. Also, you have the volume information here. So you have all the TMC for the approaches, and then you have the counts here. Okay. Now, for example, if I want to change something and if I want to bring it back to read the data, how to do that, I'll show you. So maybe let's change something here so that it's actually easily, like we can actually check it easily. Or what I will do, I will actually create another set for 60 minutes count. But maybe for this one, I will do it for 9. So you can see the difference. Okay, so this will actually call the 9 AM data. And I will change the volume for intersection 2 to maybe 100 all. So I'm actually doing it so that you can see how you can modify the data and bring it back. Okay, so I have the same date, but I change the time, and then I add the time. Actually, essentially, I can add as much as I can, but like then I can actually select Synchro from which hour I want to actually import the data. Okay, now I'll save it. Okay, let me go back to Synchro. Now I hit read volume. So for the read volume, first make sure that your file style is CSV. So you actually click this, and then you make sure that your file style is volume CSV. So when you hit volume CSV, it will ask you to select from where you are going to import. So I just select my particular file, under particular folder. I hit open. Okay. Now it will ask me for this is important now. Okay. For time and date is important when you are importing the data. So when I click that, it will ask me what is your start time. So as I add the 9 a.m. one, I'll choose 9 and 1 hour. So 10. Now the date should be this, date should be this. Days of week, if you check this drop down, you will see there are actually different options here, like weekdays, weekend. But if you don't know exactly what date, I would prefer to actually just select all the included dates. Synchro will pick up the right one. Synchro can actually do that. There is another option, the PHF, so peak hourly factor. If you have 15 minutes data, then this is important, or this is, if that's necessary, you can check that box. And then if you click that, you will see how you want to calculate your peak hourly factor. You have the options you can choose from here. But right now, as I have just hourly data, I'll just uncheck that box because I don't need that. Even I check that box, it won't do nothing, right? Because it's the hourly data. And again, scope, I choose the entire network and I hit read. It also gives me the notification that peak hour, like everything is rate, right? Peak hour rate, because that's the hourly data. So I close it. For intersection number 2, I should see all 100, right? Because I changed that. See, I have all 100. So you can actually seamlessly export and import data like that. Okay. This is about volume. Also, if you want to also export the timing and phasing, let me just show you a little overview of how you can do that. So if you want to export or import the timing, you come under the timing tab, and then you actually select the, again, write first, because I actually prefer to write it first so that I can show you the formatting, and then you can read it back. So I need to select again the file where I want to save it. I select entire network, and then I hit write. Now it creates a timing CSV for me. When I open it, the timing plans, I have the timing plan ID, I had AM peak. Okay, so here I also wanted to mention, you can actually change the name if you want to. If you need to, you can do that up to 8 characters. So if you want to do that, that's also available. I didn't change that, but I wanted to let you know that you can. Now you have the intersection ID, then you have all these plate information, cycle length, offset, reference phases, all the information. If you need to change something and if you want to import it back, just the same way, you change it, you save it, you come here, you select the file, you read the data, those data will be read, okay? Phasing, if you want to save the phasing data, again, you just need to, like select the directory, save it, write it. I'll just show you how it looks like. So in the phasing information, you will see all the signal timing parameter, like the walk time, recall time, recall, then minimum gain, max gain, yellow, all rate, all the necessary information are saved under this under the phasing. And then if you want to change something, you modify it, save the file, come here, select the file and read the data, similar to lane and layout. Okay, so if you wish to do that, you can. Okay, so the same process. The volume was a little more options, but these are more straightforward, the timing, volume, lane, and layout. Okay. Okay, another thing I would like to mention here is, let me go back to the presentation. I think I include that. TMC count. So these were all about the UTDF format when you have the CSV. But we know that there are many TMC count software like Petra or Jammer. You can also import the Petra and Jammer data directly to Synchro. To do that, you just need to make sure that you are in that particular software. It could be Petra or Jammer, depending on what software you use for your traffic count. You just need to hit File, Export, make sure to save the data or save the file as aap.vol format. And for the file name, you make sure that you enter the number only. And that number must match the node number of this intersection in Synchro. Okay, so it's different than the CSV because in CSV, you can have multiple different nodes saved in one particular CSV, but for VOL format, you can have just only one intersection information. It could be like with many different hours or many different, like volume, but you just need to make sure that this is just for one intersection, and the file name should actually reflect that node number from Synchro, and then obviously you need to just hit the save button. On the right hand side, I try to capture an image from the formatting that the VOL data should follow, because again, when you are transferring data through UTDF, the formatting is very important. So make sure that it's actually include the 15-minute turning movement count on the top, and the reference phase reference number is exactly matches with the Synchro node numbers, and you have the address, you have the date. So always make sure your formatting is actually proper when you are actually importing the data. Now, let me open up maybe the same Synchro file, and I will show you how these things work, okay? So when I do the read volume, when I was talking about the CSV, I mentioned, hey, always save the CSV. But when you are actually importing the data from the Petra or Jammer, make sure that you select VOL. When you select VOL, you need to select from where you want to save, you want to import the data, you need to select. And then, let me see. Okay, so right now, maybe I have actually two only, like for intersection 2, intersection 4, but maybe I'll choose intersection 2 for now. Press OK. Now it gives me the time. It gives me the date. So, so maybe for the time, let me change it a little bit. Maybe from 8:30 to 9:30, because these are available. Date, maybe I will choose this one. Let me just double check which date I have. So I have actually 8/30/1999. Okay. So this one. Date, I'll choose that. Maybe in this time I'll use the PHF because this is 15 minutes count. Enter, if even I choose enter network, it will again just choose my intersection number 2 because I have the information for that one only. So read. PHF hour read, PHF set for one intersection because just this is the data for just one intersection. And you see the volumes is completely changed. Now it's actually reading from the VOL file. Okay. So this was all I wanted to discuss about the data transfer through UTDF. And I will actually jump in and go to the next topic for today. So the next topic is optimization, which is for what Synchro is like most of our customers use the optimization format in Synchro, right? Now, Synchro supports actually different level of optimization. Starting from an individual intersection. So Synchro can actually optimize individual intersection. Then it can also optimize a zone, which is actually essentially a group of intersections. It actually comes under the network optimization as well. Or you can actually optimize the entire network together. Okay, so this is the different levels Synchro can do the optimization. To access the optimization under Synchro, you need to hit the optimize tab. And then when you hit the optimize tab, there are two different sections. One is intersection, another is network. So under the intersection section, this is actually all about the intersection optimization. On the right-hand side, under the network, this is all about the network optimization. Now to do the optimization, you need to follow several steps. First, you need to make sure that you set up the intersection timing plan. For whatever timing plan you have, you set it up, right? And then you optimize the split and cycle length for the individual intersection. Then you can partition the network. Like the partition the network is essentially dividing the network. If you have like a different set of criteria for one part of network than other part of network, you can actually partition the network. Or if you already know about the zone that, okay, I have 4 arterials, but I want to actually optimize one arterial between them, then you can actually separate them in a zone and do the optimization. You can do that, not necessary, it's optional, but that's one of the steps you need to follow if you want to do that. After that, you do the cycle length optimization for the network. And then finally, you do the offset optimization. And then if you need to optimize the phase ordering, you can do that. Okay, so these are the essential steps you need to follow to actually for a optimization routine within Synchro. Okay, now I will actually open up Synchro and show you how you can actually do those stuff here. Let me open up just a random file. That's fine, not a problem. Okay, so as I mentioned, the first step here is to do the intersection optimization. You can do the intersection optimization in many different ways. So if you select the intersection and then if you come to the timing settings, you might already notice that there are 2 different options: cycle length, optimize cycle length, and optimize splits. So these 2 buttons also actually allows you to do the optimization, which is like intersection level. Now, if you come to optimize, under the intersection, you have the splits and cycle length. So these 2 buttons is exactly same as these 2 buttons. They actually function exactly same, but it's your preference if you want to do the optimization from this window or from those 2 options. It's completely up to you. Now, there are 2 options. One is optimize cycle length, one is optimize splits. So optimize splits will help you to do the split optimization, right? Optimize cycle length will do the both actually. So when you do optimize cycle length, always remember it will also optimize the split as well as the cycle length. Okay, so depending on what you are looking for, you can choose whatever you prefer. If you just only concerned about the split within that cycle length, you can only consider split. But if you also want Synchro to optimize the cycle, make sure that you hit the cycle length, so it will cover for both split and cycle length. Okay, now if I hit the cycle length, it actually optimizes my cycle length. You can see the changes. If I also want to, if I would click here, it will do the same. Okay, now also I have offset optimization. If you need to do the offset optimization based on the change you just had, you can also hit the offset optimization. Synchro will do that for individual intersection. Okay, I'm obviously not doing the proper routine, but the purpose here just to show you how you can use different functionality within. Okay, now after you do that, the next thing is the network optimization. Now the partitioning network is actually you can use that. If you don't know if your network needs to be partitioned, needs to be divided in certain zones, you can use that. The partition network will actually use the coordinability factor and divide your network based on the coordinability factor between the intersections. Okay, now as this optional, you could choose it or not. Cycle length. For the cycle length, optimize cycle length, the first one is to actually find the limit. So the first one is the minimum cycle length from where you want Synchro to start the evaluation. The maximum is from at which cycle length you want Synchro to stop the evaluation, right? Now, for example, I had 130 here. Let's change it to 120 maybe. And then, okay, I'll keep the max as 150 and increment. The increment is like in which increment you want to evaluate the cycle length optimization. Meaning, if you start with 120, then the next iteration will be 130, the next will be 140, and it will end up with 150. Now, if I had 5, I will have 120, 125, 130, 135, 140, like that. Okay, so maybe I'll keep 10. Allow uncoordinated. Uncoordinated option may recommend that some intersection may be left uncoordinated based on the coordinability factor. But if you're actually working in a coordinated environment, make sure that you check never. I put never in most of the cases if that's needed. But if you want coordinability factor to divide your network, you can do that as well. Allow half cycles. So if you have a half cycle situation in your network, you can actually check that box. This option will test some of the intersection at half of the evaluated cycle length. So if you want that Synchro to include that, you can check that box. Create scenario for each cycle length. So this will preserve the cycle length of the whole iteration or the whole evaluation of the optimization. Right now, as we actually introduce the scenario manager, you can, if you check that box, you can actually have those scenarios within the same Synchro file. Previously, it actually creates some Synchro file which is out of the Synchro file. You just need to import it to see how each iteration works. But if you check that box, it will automatically pop up in the scenario manager. When I'll do the optimization, I will show you. Optimize phase sequence. This will actually help you to do the phase sequence optimization if it's should be lagging or leading left turn. So if you check that box, Synchro will do that for you. It will obviously play with the sequence. If you want your sequence to save whatever it is, make sure to uncheck that box. If you want Synchro to optimize that for you, make sure to check that box. Offset optimization, there are 3 different options available, but I would always recommend the extensive, which will give you the most detailed optimization. Weighing. There are 3 different options for weighing. So weighing means that if you want to favor a particular movement over other particular movements within a Synchro file. Now, for no weighing, that means Synchro will consider whatever you give it. Synchro will consider each phasing or each phasing movement as the same. Of course, like it will change depending on the volume, but from the timing perspective, Synchro won't actually value them more, like one more to another. So Synchro will actually consider them equally. Now, if you want to actually favor one particular movement to another, you can choose the optimize using phase weighing. That means if you want to increase green time for a particular phase over any other phases, you can use that option. That means like you want to prioritize that particular movement, right? You want that movement to have the least delay and least travel time for that particular network. So if you check that box, you need to make sure that you also play with the phasing settings. When you come under the phasing settings, you see there is an option called optimize phase ways. Here, you need to change the value. So the value varies from 1 to 5. So when everything is 1, Synchro will consider, optimization routine will consider them equally. If you put some number which is more than 1, 1 to 5 is a standard limit. So let's say if you put 2 or 3, you will see some changes for that particular movement. Okay, so if you want to do that, make sure that you, for example, if you type 3 or like, depending on how you want to, maybe for this one, you want to prioritize this movement over any other movement for this network, you can do that. Okay. If you do that, of course, you need to make sure that you check this box. Okay. Now you have another option called optimize using reference phase weighing. Now, if you want to prioritize your reference phases, which is actually the major discrete coordinated phases, if you just want to prioritize your major phases, that means you want to increase the throughput for your particular network or particular corridor, you can choose that. You don't need to do it like that. You don't need to open each intersection and change it for the particular movement. You can just directly press 2 or 3 here, and then you can, those reference phases will get the priority over any other movement. Okay, so if you want to do that, there is the option. But if you want everything to have the same priority, then you choose the no weighing option. Okay. Scope, you can either choose the zone. If you have multiple zone, I have one zone for this intersect network, but if you have multiple zone, you can choose the zone. If you want to do it for the entire network, you can. Okay, so maybe I'll do it for the entire network for now. Okay, now on the right hand side, you see the automatic and manual. So after you set everything, you select the automatic optimization or manual optimization. The automatic optimization, if you click that, Synchro will give you the best timing plan based on the lowest performance index. So Synchro always read the lowest performance index. So when you hit the automatic and you get the lowest performance, Synchro will choose the one which has the lowest performance index. Now, if you want to do some advanced optimization, for example, you want to prioritize some intersection, you want to prioritize some particular approach, or maybe you want to prioritize stop over number of stops over delay. You don't care about the PI. I would recommend to use the manual one, because when you hit the manual one, it will create a summary table for cycle length with all the measure of effectiveness, which will give you the opportunity to the best one, to choose the best one based on the criteria, based on your criteria, right? Now, I'll actually, because if I do automatic, it will just optimize it. It will change everything. You won't see the changes, but I would like to actually show you the manual for this purpose, just to show you what things you can change. Now, before I hit automatic and manual, I would also like to talk about the right timing file. So if you actually do the optimization and check that box, it will write a timing plan for you. Like you remember, I just show you how the timing plan looks like when you export the UTDF. So it will also create a similar timing plan out of these scenarios. So you will have 130, 120, 140, 150. Based on that, Synchro will create a timing plan for you. You can name it however you want to, but like this is an optional stuff. If you want to save the data in CSV format, you can. Now let's hit manual. Whatever I choose, based on that, I'll hit manual. Now Synchro is going through the iteration of all the data I actually selected here. Okay, now when I choose this, okay, so I had 130. I don't know why I thought 120. Okay, now you see there are the cycle length, then you have the performance index, you have the delay, you have the stops, you have the fuel, unserved vehicles, dilemma vehicles, and all those good MOE stuff. Okay, now you have three options like the 130, 140, 150. This is how I set it up. Synchro highlighted one for you. So the highlighted one is actually which Synchro automatically choose for you. You can choose this, you can choose the other as well if you want to, but Synchro choose that for you because that has the lowest PI. Okay. Now, if you want to prioritize, for example, you don't care about PI, maybe you are more concerned about the number of stops. You are looking for something which has less number of stops, although this one have both, but if you have some other criteria, you can choose them. Okay. And for example, I would like to choose 140. I don't want to choose 130 for some reason, just like maybe this one actually works better. So I choose that and I press OK. So Synchro will actually automatically check that for me. Okay. So you can, using the manual, you will have more control. But if you just think about, okay, I would like to prioritize the PI. If you go with automatic, you are completely safe. You are completely fine. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the scenario manager one. So I had just one scenario. The scenario name was 1. So when I run the iteration, Synchro automatically creates that 3 other data for me, 3 other scenario for me. So the good thing about is, like, although you select the 140, you can also choose 130, 140, 150 to actually analyze, like, okay, if I do that, how the data looks like. If I activate that, how different the data looks like then if I choose 150 to 140, and then you can run the simulation, you can see the changes, you will have more control over the data. But if you know, like, okay, whatever I choose, that's the best one for me, those are not necessary, you can delete that, or when you come here, you can just uncheck that box. Okay. And also I told you that when you click right timing plan, it should create a timing file for you. I would like to show you that as well, because I checked that box and it created for me. So this one, it looks very familiar to the UTDF. We purposely made that exactly same when you export it UTDF, so that in future, if you want to import any of the timing plan, maybe in this case, just assume that you deleted the extra timing plan. Sorry, not this file. So you deleted the extra timing plan, but in future, for some reason you want to import any, if you save that data, it will be saved. Okay. Now the format is exactly same. You have the timing plan ID, you have the intersection ID, all these split data, cycle data, reference, and clearance phases. Okay. So this is what you can get when you hit that write the timing plan, and you can import them back whenever needed. So not required, but there is an optional feature you can utilize. Okay. I would like to show you another thing also. Now you see there is also another option called the, excuse me, offset optimization. So these will actually help you to also optimize the offset over the network. So if you click that, the first option here is the split. So you can use existing split. I would use existing split because I do the split optimization already. But if you didn't do any split optimization, you just come directly to the offset optimization. You can actually hit the optimize one. But as I already optimize that, so I'll just go with the existing. So this is also recommended for you. If you already optimize the split and cycle, you don't need to use the optimize button. You can just go with the existing one. For the lead lag phasing, so if you want to optimize the lead lag phasing based like while you are doing the offset optimization, you can choose that box. If you don't wish to, you can uncheck that box. Depending on what you are looking for, you can do that. There are actually different features. So you can do the offset optimization in different levels. So there are total 5 passes. I always prefer to go with the best timing plan. Again, it will give you the most detailed one. So go with the best timing plan. Weighing. So there are 2 different weighing. Either you can actually weigh. You can actually select the no weigh. That means it will actually consider every movement same. You can also weigh the reference phases. So when it will do the offset optimization, it will make sure the reference phases got the priority. So depending on what you are looking for, you can choose that. You can choose zone or entire network. Again, it's up to you. And when you press OK, so Synchro will actually do the offset optimization for you. Okay. And these are all the options you can utilize while you are actually doing the optimization. And of course, you will see the changes. So for example, if I come back and if I hit the cycle length, you see I choose the 140 and you will have the 140. And of course, you will see the split changes as well. Now, with the scenario manager, the good thing is if you want to preserve your best scenario, make sure that you have it and you actually duplicate another scenario. You actually do the optimization and you can compare the data between the base scenario and the optimized scenario. That's what you can do with scenario manager very, very quickly and easily. Okay. Now, I think that was all I wanted to cover in today's webinar about these 2 topics. And I'll open up the Q&A session and I'll take the questions.